Hey, welcome to Bhroman Braapsody. I got a call from Gennaro at Motorcycles of Greensboro. He said, show up and there's something really cool for you. So I'm waiting here. Where is Gennaro? Oh, there he is.
Dude, who are you?
Hey, you called me, remember? You called the meanie, but he's away, so I picked up the call and I'm here. So let's go ahead with it.
I wasn't expecting. Well, anyways, welcome back, man.
Thank you, sir. We've never met, so nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Yeah, welcome to Motorcycles of Greensboro.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. What are we doing here today? I have no idea.
We had over the weekend, we had a very special delivery.
Okay.
And the special delivery requires other very special people that are talented in other ways that I would never be.
Okay.
So with that said, what we have here today is a 2021 very, very, very selective Ducati Panigale V4 SP.
Okay.
And we're going to be pulling it out of this box and we're going to get it ready for the lucky customer who decided that wanted to purchase the motorcycle. And while our master technician Troy does this thing with the box, and at some point you're going to have to get out of the way because I'm going to have to help him with this because it's a big box to handle.
Oh man, I was hoping I could get it out.
You want to help him?
Yeah, sure. Can I take it for a ride too?
Not just no, but hell no.
I see how you are. Since I'm not the meanie, you're like, yeah, I can't ride it.
Hey, you know what I mean? It's a special bike, and it's for a very special customer. And then while Troy's doing that, I'm, as usual, going to be giving you a little bit of a background about Ducati Superbikes and what the acronym of SP stands for. And a little bit of its history. But with that said, let's welcome Troy. And what Troy's going to be doing here quickly, he's going to go grab his 13mm wrench and a Phillips screwdriver and some snips in order to be able to cut the straps off of this box. And then we'll just get to it.
So what are the steps that go in for unboxing a bike and getting it ready for the showroom or for the purchase?
So, well, the first step is obviously snipping these straps off. Then we pull the cardboard box off. It's just like unboxing many other things.
Okay.
Other than what's underneath here is a full metal crate. Obviously to try to keep the motorcycle protected as much as possible on its transit from Borgo Panigale, Bologna, Italy, across the Atlantic, and then onto a truck. There's a metal crate, and then we pull the metal crates off of it. And then what we'll do is it's going to come bolted through the axles. We'll undo those bolts, pull the bike right out of the box, right out of the crate. And what's really, really funny is actually probably the most staking part of this process is actually disposing of the crate itself, you know, because we have to have people come by and pick it up in a big truck. So after that, we put the bike on the lift. Well, I say we. If it weren't for him, yeah. Anyway. He puts the bike on the lift and he starts the charging process of the battery. Lithium-ion batteries are very special. They take a special process and a special charger. He hooks it up to the computer so he can download all the latest technological advancements that have been done for the motorcycle. So all the programming, the latest firmware, and so on and so forth. Puts on the mirrors, makes sure that everything is connected. But more importantly, because at the end of the day, we don't ride the gadget, we ride the motorcycle. The very basics are still being performed by hand here at Motorcycles of Greensboro, which means that Troy pulls out his very, very expensive torque wrench and goes through all the important nuts and bolts and makes sure that they're torqued to spec, just as a double check. After that, he has the privilege of being able to ride every motorcycle for at least 8 to 10 miles, just to make sure that it shifts properly, the buttons work, and the motorcycle runs right without any funny noises, and all that stuff. It's really quite involved. It takes time and dedication, and it's definitely process driven.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about.
I have a fascination for that historical bit. Oh! I think we're going to get interrupted today quite a bit. Supermodel just walked in the room,
Hey,
so
but pay her no attention, you know.
really?
I think that's how you got to play the game, right?
Okay.
Like, don't let them know that you're interested, right?
I got you.
Just pay them no attention.
Okay.
But let's talk about her anyways.
Okay.
So the V4 from Ducati, the V4 Panigale is this big bad bike, big badass, super sexy, super awesome, fast bike from Ducati, and this is the SP. This makes it even a little more special, right?
It really does. Ducati has a history of obviously producing superbikes dating back to the 1970s when the Panta was first introduced, and it is a B-twin, and it started winning some races. In the late 80s, Ducati introduced a motorcycle that they called the 851, which starts the sexiness of it all, because it was considered one of the most beautiful bikes. It still is considered one of the most beautiful bikes ever produced. The legendary 851 started winning races. Well, obviously they kept winning races, but as it started winning races, Ducati thought of producing a bike that was more derivative of their racing efforts. Hence the acronym SP. It stands for sport production. And what sport production it really means for Ducati means that it's even closer to their Corse division or their racing efforts.
So you said sport production. I always thought it meant sexy Panigale.
Well, it does. The thing is the funny thing about it all is that the 851 was not a Panigale, but we could refer to it now as sexy Panigale for sure, since the Panigale was introduced.
I got the Mini's notes before I got here. Like, he scribbled stuff all around, and he refers to you as the professor. And now I can see why you have all of this nice history lesson for us.
You know, most people get bored by history. To me, it tells a story, right? And the SP is a story that's definitely in my wheelhouse. Being a huge fan of superbikes, having done some racing myself. You know, so anything that's sport bike oriented, usually a little more of my heart goes into it, just because of my history as well. So there's more history, right?
Yes, sir.
Continuing on with, and as Troy's playing around with his 13mm wrench there, SP goes on from an 851 on to an 888. In the 888 was introduced in very late 80s, early 90s. On which we saw Doug Poland racing for Fast by Ferracci, a dear friend of mine, a super nice guy. Heraldo is phenomenal. He's a living legend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Win 2 world championships, world superbike championships. And then eventually the 888 was evolved and redone. And then we know as the 916, which is the legendary super sexy till today. I mean, you can't look at a 916 and not just fall in love with the thing.
Yep.
There were some SPs in the 916, then eventually the 996. By the way, the 916, I think Carl Fogarty was the English gentleman who won several world championships on that bike. Then the 996 and the 998. By the time we got to the 1098, Superman Troy Bayliss came into the picture. And there were Rs and SPs of it as well. The 1198 SP was another super sexy bike that I most certainly fell in love with. And Troy seems to be not wanting my help.
Nope.
He's got it all handled, and the bike is almost revealed.
And like, so this also goes to say a lot about your skills, probably, because he's like, yeah, you just stay there and talk and let me take care of it.
That's what he does. I mean, you know, sometimes I come back here and I go, Troy, please, I need your help with something. And before I'm even done asking for it, it's already done. He's an absolutely amazing guy.
And he knows me, I'm of no use here, so he's like, yeah, just keep Gennaro busy, that's your job. He slipped me a 20 before we started filming. He's like,
that's
yeah,
it?
Just keep
Just
Gennaro.
a 20?
Yeah, I'm good with a 20.
Okay, all right. Lunch.
Yeah.
So what we have let's go back to the supermodel, the present supermodel in the house. So what we have is a color combination and a design that's directly taken from the MotoGP winter testing livery, is what they would call it. The difference between the SP and the V4S is, well, the V4S is more of a production mass production motorcycle, which for Ducati, there's really no such thing as mass production because they don't make that many motorcycles to start with. But some of the primary differences that you'll be able to notice right away is the exposed brushed aluminum tank. Carbon fiber is everywhere, which, by the way, its nickname is Italian Chrome, by the way.
Italian Chrome.
Yeah, there's another piece of trivia.
See a winglet that's very similar to the Superleggera. I've seen pictures of the Superleggera. So
yes, and so carbon fiber everywhere, the front fender, the winglet, and also there's Italian Chrome for the heel guards. Rizoma designed adjustable foot pegs for the rider. They're done in billet aluminum and then polished to a beautiful finish. And the difference between this bike and the R is that this motorcycle was designed and engineered in order to allow a non-professional rider, and would you say racer, or track day guy, to actually be able to go faster than the R. Now, the V4R is their true homologated world superbike production motorcycle. But the difference between that one and this one is that the V4R has a power delivery that's at a much higher rev range. For this bike, in order to help the non-professional rider, what they've done is they've reduced the power a little bit to only 214, by the way.
oh, that's it.
That's all, just 214 horsepower.
On a bike that weighs less than 400 pounds.
Do you want to be precise about that weight?
381.
381.
Yeah.
381.
I'll grab a handlebar.
I grab a handlebar, for sure. I'm actually holding on to a beautiful, beautiful supermodel.
And he doesn't mind holding on.
No, I'll hold on forever on this one.
So, like you said, it only has 214 horsepower, but it weighs about 381 pounds.
Correct.
With carbon fiber everywhere.
Including the wheels.
Including the wheels.
The wheels, which is actually the single most important weight savings part of the motorcycle in itself, because when you reduce unsprung weight, which is what the wheels is, you reduce the inertia that the wheels produce at speed, so it makes the motorcycle a lot easier to turn into corners and also to pull out of corners.
Even and it's going to help you on the straights as well.
Correct, because there's less weight, so that it accelerates faster and it slows down faster, and all that kind of stuff.
So that only 214 horsepower is a misnomer of sorts, because this bike is lighter, much lighter than any other bike that you could get from any manufacturer.
There's only one that's lighter.
And that's the
Superleggera. The Superleggera.
I just love that name.
Right?
But so tell us, so these are all these awesome numbers. If someone off the street were to buy this bike, how much is he or she looking to spend?
So somebody off the street actually already bought the bike. That's the beauty of it all. The bike MSRP is set at $37,000, which is actually a little less than the B4R, but it's a lot less than the Superleggera. Full view of the carbon fiber wheel with mass weight centralization in by the hub closest to the center of the wheel. Single-sided swing arm. It's a Ducati. It has to have the sexiness of the single-sided swing arm. The adjustable, what we would call rear sets, made by Rizoma for Ducati. Even more importantly, which is the fun part of this bike as well, is the fact that Ducati has placed number on the top triple clamp, which is super beautifully machined and very, very sexy. And yet one more feature that's just very track oriented is the manually adjustable brake lever, which basically is there to allow the rider to keep adjusting where the brake lever is at from the distance from the grip, so that they can have a more consistent brake actuation, so they have a better understanding or a better feel for the braking and the travel of the lever in itself.
And because you don't have a lot of time when you're going down corners and stuff, you don't want to lose out on seconds or microseconds or whatever.
Correct, because at the end of the day, the bike is made for absolute top performance on the track. And another sign of that is the fact that they've put a 520 size chain on the bike, which is a smaller, but yet with modern day technology. Tensile strength is all there. but it's a smaller, lighter chain so that the bike doesn't have to move such a heavy chain, and it basically
Power, and what happens is you end up losing power when it's a bigger, heavier chain. There's more loss of power, let's say.
Correct. Yeah, less power is actually delivered to the ground when you have a big, heavy chain as opposed to the 520.
And the paint scheme, man. Let's talk about the paint scheme real quick.
Sure.
The contrast of this matte black with the brushed aluminum and this red line here.
And the red accents.
It's
yes.
It's Ducati. And Ducati is, like we've said, sexy in Italian, and this is one of them. This is probably the sexiest bike I've seen in a long, long time. And I'm up close and personal, and I'm getting to touch it. I can't ride it, but I'll touch it. I'll touch it all day.
So the other big thing too is Brembo obviously is the brake the brake system of choice, but in this case we have the Stelema brake calipers, which are now they're near top of the line production calipers. So
it's a V4. It started its life as a V4, and then you added stuff to make it lighter, faster, quicker, more nimble, and easier for folks who are not track oriented per se or professional riders. But this still has that essence of a Ducati, which is it'll turn heads wherever you go, be it on the track, be it on the street, you go to a bike meet, doesn't matter. This is a sexy, sexy bike. Well, thank you, Gennaro. Thank you, Professor, for giving Bhroman a call. This has been a great pleasure of mine, and I'm so happy that the Mini didn't get to do it. So when he comes here next time, let him know that it was I who did it.
all right, we'll do so. And thank you for coming by and allowing us the opportunity to show off this beautiful supermodel.
Absolutely. Oh, and so before we end, can you quickly tell us a little bit about Motorcycles of Greensboro?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Motorcycles of Greensboro is a BMW Ducati dealership that I wouldn't really consider so much a dealership, because to me dealership means processes and systems and pushy sales guys. Not so much so here. What we have here is a group of motorcycle enthusiasts, such as Troy. Brian is a service manager. Andrew is a parts manager, whom we met at within R90. Yep.
And then there's you, who has racing experience, track experience.
I wouldn't even want to put myself in the. I mean, these guys are truly, these guys are really the backbone of what I would want to call an enthusiast center. It's a place for motorcycle enthusiasts to come by, share knowledge, share stories, adventure stories, racing stories, whatever have you. And maybe if they're just at the beginning of their motorcycling life, come and gain some knowledge from us. Because as I figured within the walls of this building, we probably have a combined motorcycling experience of about 300 years. That's a lot of experience.
That's a lot of experience, yeah.
And in little old Greensboro, North Carolina.
Thank you, Professor. This was awesome. This was a great opportunity. Thank you for having us here. And I'll put the website link for Motorcycles of Greensboro in the video description below. What do they have to tell you, Professor, if they come here after seeing this video?
Why don't we just have people come in and say that the Bhroman sent them?
There you go. Just tell them the Bhroman sent you. I'm gonna see you next week. It's not right o'clock this time, right?
There's got to be limitations somewhere.
But anyway, so we will thank you for watching, and we're gonna see you next week.
Bye-bye, and thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, everybody.